Hi, and welcome to the show. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to guess what that is. And if you guess robot, you'd be right. And who do you think these young men are? If you think they're the designers and builders and ones that took this robot to world competition, you'd be right. So welcome to the Nerd Herd, associated with McMinnville High School, correct?
No.
No.
We're a 4-H Yamhill County white team.
4-H Yamhill County.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Nicholas Ludwig, Ethan Gutso, Ian Hansen. I got
Other way
that
around.
wrong. Yep.
But,
Ian Gutso,
Yep.
Ethan Hansen.
That's
Welcome.
right.
Team captain, mechanical designer,
Yeah.
programmer. All right. Well, you guys have just come back from an incredible experience, and I wanted people to know about that. Well, let's maybe start from the beginning. You guys have been at this a long time. Who wants to tell us about kind of the coming together of this over the years?
yeah, I will. So, as a team, we started in about 2011. Our first competition season was 2012, and so yeah, this was our 7th competition season. None of us were actually there for the beginning because it's a high school team, and there's only 4 years in high school. But the original members still come back and do some mentoring, and the team has been continuing to keep moving on and learning new things.
Great. And how did you come to it?
So
When you were maybe in the younger grades, were you active with robots?
no, at least I wasn't. We all have our own backstories, but when I was younger, I was interested in robots. Never had any robotics experience. But I saw the Nerd Herd display at the Evergreen Museum because that was like my favorite place to go as a kid, and I just was like, by the time I was like 6 years old, I said, I want to do that when I grow up, and here I am.
Because there's robotics clubs and groups for kids way younger, way down. So any parents or kids that are watching that want to get involved, but they don't have to be high school age.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Ian? How did you get into robots?
Well, I'd always liked robotics ever since I was little, and I always had the little Lego Mindstorms sets and stuff. I heard about it from a friend, and they were just like, hey, you can come. So come on down, and then I came, and never left.
So your first experience was Nerd Herd.
Yeah.
All right. And how about you, Nicholas?
I have always kind of been a techie kid, same Lego Mindstorms, and then I think I saw this particular team at the Alien Days Parade 2 years ago before I joined the team, and then at that very specific moment we weren't a 4-H team yet, we were still with McMinnville High School, and so I went to Sheridan and couldn't join yet, and then that year they switched to a 4-H club. I didn't know, so I spent a year not on the team. And then the next year I actually moved to Mac High, and I joined the team, even though I could have joined a year earlier.
Now, how many of you, what grade will you be in?
I'm going into senior year.
I'm going into sophomore.
I'm going to be a senior as well.
Okay, so you'll be back.
Yeah.
And you guys are going off to be engineers?
Computer science for me.
Software engineer.
Yeah.
Software engineer. All right. Well, it's good to know that there's young men interested in this, because the last team I had was all young women, and I'm just glad to know that men are also interested in robotics. Little sarcasm. All right. Let's see. So let's start with how this robot came together this year. Tell us how that begins. You get a description of the competition, and then you design a robot to do that.
Do you want to walk
Yeah.
us through the design process?
Well, so at the beginning of every year, they have the kickoff, and then they tell us the rules of the game, how we score points, how we will score points anyway. And then our goal is to design and build a robot to, get as many points as we need to. How we started designing was we thought of all the different kinds of robots, or robots that other big teams would want to have on their team, and we also wanted to do what we knew we could do. This year they had a thing you could climb onto with your robot, but we didn't do that since we weren't confident in our ability to get it up there all the time. So our goal was to make it simple, work well, and do it fast.
Well, you must have done well because you went to world competition. I can't wait to hear the story of how you got there. So you had their set of criteria, and we're going to see a film of your competition. Which competition is that you brought the film of?
This was our Lake Oswego competition, the one we actually won. It'll be qualification match 7, one of the first ones of the day, when most other teams are just sort of getting warmed up. They're robots. It's the first time they're out on the field, so I believe it was our second time out on the field. And so we can talk about what's going on right now. Right now, we're in what's called the sandstorm period, where the drivers cannot see the field. At this point, Nicholas, our main driver over here, now he can see it. You saw those visors come up over on the sides. He couldn't see the robot until then. And now he can see it, he can move around a little bit better. And so for a sense of scale, this field is 27 feet width-wise and 54 feet lengthwise. So, these are big robots moving large distances
Now
quickly.
that one orange robot is hassling that blue one there.
That's actually our robot that's hassling.
You're
We're the blue one.
So that's defense
Oh my gosh.
right there. FRC is, they call it a full contact sport. And what that means is that is totally legal, what he's doing right there, and we have to deal with it. And as you can see, we just did. That orange ball you saw going in,
Yep.
that was a perfect score into that place we needed to get it.
I see.
Lots
So-
going on.
That competition was, so what we saw there was picking up balls, putting them in, and there was another part of it that we didn't see.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just come around and maybe Ian, you want to talk about your hatch design?
Yeah.
Come out here and we'll
You towards
get a little closer on this guy.
Do we want to enable and actually move it?
Yeah,
Or-
you're good to enable as long as
Yeah, all
step
right.
back a bit.
Enabling. Robot is enabled.
All right, so this is our robot.
I'm gonna turn it towards the camera.
All right, that works. So here we're holding a hatch panel. If you can release the panel real quick. So this has to be put on the front of the, there we go. This thing has to get put on the front of the cargo ship. There's that big thing you saw in the middle of the field. And we have to put it on there. It sticks on with Velcro. We have to put it on before the cargo gets put in, otherwise it'll just fall out. And this is how I put the cargo in. That was that big orange ball you saw going in. That particular one already had a hatch panel on it, so the cargo didn't fall out. So what we do, these hatch panels are in a loading station, like somewhere over there. Let's just say. And then we drive up to the loading station and grab it with these little grabbers. We call it the jaws of life. And then we drive around to where we need to put it, and then we extend this main part, and then we align it, sticks on, release it, pull it back, and drive away.
Okay, so you went and got the hatch panel, brought it over to where it needed to plug a hole so that your balls didn't fall out. You stick it on, and then you go grab balls and
Yep.
put them in. And you've got how much time during a set or a match?
For a complete match, it is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 30 seconds of that is that sandstorm period.
15.
Oh, 15, sorry.
Where you can't see.
Yeah, where we can't see the field.
And so how do you know what to do when you can't see the field?
So over here, we got a little camera on our robot, which sends its video to our team computer, which we have down there, sort of hidden.
I see, okay.
We control the robot through that.
So that's a special skill to be able to drive the robot from watching a camera. That's
Yeah.
different than looking at the robot and driving the robot. That's a whole
laggy,
different.
fuzzy camera.
What's that?
A very laggy and fuzzy camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during competition, there's like a lot of you are on the team are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people? I mean, it's only one guy driving.
Yeah.
Who
Yep.
drives?
That would be me.
That sounds like a pretty high pressure job.
Tad bit. Just kind of to go out there and do the thing you did in practice. Just score points and hope the defender doesn't target you.
Are people talking to you while you're driving?
Yes, actually. At this particular competition, Ethan was our drive coach. He's kind of our strategy guy. He was the one that examined what everyone else in the field was doing and told me what to do. It means that I didn't have to do much actual thinking. I was simply driving and listening.
Go here, go bump into that guy. Go get a ball now. Go get that one over the corner.
Go get this ball, put it in this position. And he's also communicating with the other two teams on our alliance, along with our drive coach, which isn't here at the moment.
Wow.
Okay. Yes.
No, let's, is there anything else you want to demonstrate on this guy? Your thing is fast.
So,
Can you just do a wheel stand or something?
So I don't want to move it quickly in such a small studio.
Okay.
But I can show you the reason it was fast.
Yeah.
This robot has a opening in the back.
Well, you did a wheelie there.
Yep.
Actually.
So it allows us to pick it up really quickly off the ground, and it automatically stops based on a sensor in the middle of the ramp. And we can
You don't have to shut it off.
Nope.
Good. Yeah.
It does it all on its own, and it drives up really quickly to it, and then it's able to eject it really quickly. It doesn't take much alignment at all. You just kind of run up to a ball, and all of a sudden you have a ball, and then you run up to the place you got to put it, and now it's where it needs to go.
So, a note on that.
You go ahead and take it.
Yeah. So other teams had cycle times of maybe 10 to 20 seconds in that range. At one point, there was a spot on the cargo ship that we needed to put a ball into, and there was a cargo lying on the ground right next to it. Nick turned around, picked it up behind, turned around again, put it in, and so our cycle time for that cycle was 2 seconds.
You guys won because you had an excellent driver coach and an excellent design. So this hatch design, I wish we could see others and we would go, oh yeah, our guys are way smarter than everybody else. But so this thing just really performed, this hatch. And did you try a lot of different designs, or did?
We did actually have a different design we were considering. The other design we were considering early on was having like a little tongue that sticks out, and then would flip up when inside the middle of the hatch panel, and it would just hold it like that. If you can pass over the hatch panel real quick. So it would go like in here, flip this up, and then it would hold it like that, that against the robot. But we also had a different design slightly different design for the cargo thing, and that would interfere with the cargo thing. It would block it from working properly, which in hindsight might actually not have been such a big of a problem, because you're not actually allowed to have both a hatch panel and a cargo on your robot at the same time. But we were trying to figure out other designs, and we liked grabbing it from the center because it would align really easily. And so we decided to go from the side and clamp it from the side.
Firmly.
Since that would leave a bunch of space for the cargo manipulator, cargo input-output, that thing, up top. So that's how this particular design came about for grabbing it.
How about the cargo manipulator? I'd like to see how the other ones, compared to that. But how did you think up this, refine it? Who thought of this?
So the cargo manipulator was kind of an interesting ordeal with our team. We had some issues with it actually starting to be built, and a lot of not really knowing how it would turn out based off of the designs. But it just kind of got put together based off of the idea of just having two belts up here. And what happened is there were two really small belts on the outside of these green wheels, and they ran all the way down rather than this one big center one.
Yeah.
What happened with that is the belts would pop out of the pulleys that held them in place.
Ooh.
So we eventually switched to this design, which you can offset this belt as much as you want off center, and it'll recenter itself on the pulleys every time, no matter how off center it is, even up on those wheels.
It goes
it'll
to the
always
high
center itself.
point in the center.
Yep.
I would have thought it would go to the side where it's lower,
Yeah.
but okay.
really crazy.
If I
really
knew
odd.
mechanics, I would understand why.
And we've had this belt mid-competition be like almost entirely off of this, and because we picked up a ball funny, and then it would spin for a couple seconds and it'd be perfectly fine
Find
again.
its way back. Now, I'd also think that the ball would tend to go off to one side or the other.
So another kind of half stroke of genius, half luck thing that occurred is we had no place to put our air tanks, but we had a lot of pneumatics, right?
Yeah.
And we ended up just slapping them there as guides.
Yeah.
Um,
And they're just the alley that it runs up.
and so it completely centers the ball.
Boom, it stops.
And then as it comes out the top, it is always dead center on the belt and comes out really easily.
Yeah.
You can also bring it in from the top.
Oh. Why would you do that?
So in the loading stations, you can either pick balls up from the ground in little depots,
Okay.
or you can have a player from outside the field toss one in a little hole that's exactly this height.
Yeah.
So we would just go up to that hole, they would toss it in, and we'd have a ball. If there were none easy to get on the field.
Well, it's too bad we couldn't be at the competition or have more time watching that, more film, because there's a lot more to this than we're going to understand right now. But well, let's talk about the process of how you got through. Where'd you start? Your first competition?
So our first competition was in Wilsonville. It's with how many other teams, Ethan?
There were about 30 other teams there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are about 30 other teams all competing to hopefully win the district qualifier event.
District, that's kind of the northwest.
Yeah,
of
we are in the
Oregon, or-
Pacific Northwest district. So
Pacific Northwest, other states.
yeah.
We're there in Wilsonville.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are a bunch of district qualifier events. Each team goes to 2 of them. Our home one was in Wilsonville, and then our second one we went to Lake Oswego. I shifted.
Do you want to disable?
Yes, I do. Nice. And
Has a little gas.
yeah, it's
Okay.
just pneumatics. So we didn't win our Wilsonville event. We did well. We made it onto an alliance with the number 1 out of all of the initial teams after going through the qualification matches for district qualifiers. It's kind of funny. And then our second match, we did really well all through qualification matches, and then won the finals with 2 other teams
In Lake Oswego.
in Lake Oswego. And what that did is that qualified us for the district championship event in Tacoma, Washington. So then we traveled to Tacoma, Washington. We didn't do our absolute best there. We didn't even make it to finals. We ended up filling for a final team because we were the number 1 out of the non-picked teams. But we broke a couple times there, and it wasn't optimal.
What broke?
So at one point, a robot managed to jump up into our frame perimeter and hit our electronics,
Oh my
which
gosh.
knocked a wire loose. And we didn't catch it during our pre-flights, and we had to deal with that on the field.
And that wire disabled what?
So the communication line between all of the things that control the motors and the solenoids detached, causing the entire robot to not move at all because none of the motors could be controlled. So we were sitting ducks. It happens, but we fixed it, and we just barely qualified for the World Championships with our what?
So even not making it all the way, it wasn't just barely. There were quite a few teams that ranked below us, so we weren't at the very bottom, and we were able to go on to Worlds with the amount of points that we got because we did extremely well at all of our competitions previous, as well as in Tacoma. We had a win-loss record at Tacoma of 10-2, and that was unheard of, except for so ranking points in FRC are weird. It's not just based on how many times you win versus lose. So we weren't ranked very high, but we had the best win-loss ratio, except for the 2 what people would say are god-tier teams.
All right. So you qualified for Worlds. And where were the World Championships held?
So the World Championships were in Houston, Texas. So it's a long way. We have to pack our robot and cart into a very large crate about the size of a few people standing together, and ship it off, and then hope we see it when we fly ourselves and some tools down to Houston. And then we go, I forgot which convention center in Houston it was.
I think it was the I think it might have been the George R. Brown Convention Center.
So it was the George R. Brown Convention Center with over 400 teams,
400
other
teams, and
just
maybe-
FRC teams.
And maybe 10 people a team.
And a
10
lot
to-
more than 10 people. On average, we were told about 30 team members on a team versus our about 13 people, including team members and
30 times
mentors.
400, is that 7,000 people are there?
Yeah.
Give
Wow.
or take. And that's just in our particular league of first competitions. There are still FTC teams, and then there are FLL teams and FLL junior teams, which all have a lot of members.
They're all there at once.
They're all there at once.
So there's 50,000 people there.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
And that's not even including spectators.
Yeah.
Because there's
Wow.
wall-to-wall spectators.
All right. So how did it go?
We did really well. In our particular subdivision of the World Championships, we ended up as finalists. We lost our second finals match by a single point.
Oh my god.
our third.
Our third. No, we
won.
lost the second one. The one that would have won it for us. Our second match, we lost by 1 point.
We played 3 finals matches because it's best 2 out of 3. So our third one we lost by 1 point. So the first one we won, second one we lost, and then the third one we lost by just 1 point.
Yeah. And but you felt like you did really well though.
But we did really well. We didn't even expect to make it into the finals at all, let alone be the the runner-ups in our subdivision. If we would have won that, if we would have scored that 1 point or got them if we were to fish a penalty for 1 more point, we would have gone on to the round robin Mass and Energy Fields, which is where all the teams that won their subdivisions then compete for a chance to play on Minute Maid Field in Houston, where the Houston Astros play.
Wow. Did you go to that competition? Did you just go to watch it?
We went to watch it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And you felt like your robot, you could have been there if you had that 1 point. You would have deserved to have been there.
I don't think so.
Really?
I think at Mass and Energy we would have been eliminated. At that point where you're competing for the round robin, you
Yeah.
are among the 20 best teams in the world.
So 6 of it, 18.
The
The
18.
top 18 teams in the world.
Uh-huh. But you were proud of what your cycle time on your delivery,
Yeah.
your hatch system, I guess, and also just the integrity that it held together.
Yeah, that's something that we've always struggled with our robots, is almost every one of our robots has something that fails over and over and over again, and we never seem to fix it in a timely manner. So this robot actually did have 1 point that would, in effect, fail every 5 or so matches. However, we knew that part in particular was going to fail, so we designed this front system to be able to be replaced in about 45 seconds. And we were able to, every match that it bent backwards or it twisted in a funny way, we simply took it out and put the other one in and then repaired the broken one in our off time while the replacement was there. And then we would just kept swapping between the two subsystems. And they're 2 identical hatch manipulators.
All right. Well, congratulations. I really appreciate you bringing that film and showing us what it was like. Ethan, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about maybe your invitation to everyone, anyone.
Yeah, so because we're now a Yamhill County-wide team, anyone is welcome to be a member or a mentor. If you're an engineer and you want to give back to the community a bit, teaching the next generation of bright young minds is a great way to do that. And if you're not an engineer, there's a spot for you on the team. Even if you think, I would never want to build the robot, well, you could program the robot. Or if you don't want to do either of those 2 things, we need people who like sewing. We've got to make these bumpers that have to withstand industrial conditions. We have to do outreach, like we're doing right now, fundraising. We have to manage everything.
For people interested in business.
Oh, yeah,
You gotta
absolutely.
Finance this thing.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to build it and to send you to competitions, and you get to practice your what do they call that? Capacity building.
Yeah. Yep.
Polite term for asking for money.
Yes.
And marketing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so a
definitely.
lot of people marketing skills. Maybe you want to design graphics, T-shirts.
Yeah.
We need new t-shirts.
Yeah, you could use a logo, huh?
We have a logo,
Okay.
but we're always open to new ideas. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's for adults, and what age kids?
High school, so about 14 to 18.
All right.
Yeah.
And all right. And Nicholas, I wanted to pass the microphone to you. You wanted to you had talked about one of your favorite parts of this whole program.
So probably my favorite part of this entire thing is the community behind it. Everyone here is passionate about what they're doing, whether it be building a robot or helping the team in whatever way they do. And even at competitions, it's still a competitive atmosphere, but no one is really fighting against each other. Everyone is together. Who's against you one match will be with you the next match.
Because you're randomly assigned into teams of 3.
Yep, because we're randomly assigned teams of 3 every qualification match. And it puts everyone in this position where you just want to be helpful. It's mutually beneficial for everyone to be positive and kind, and it's such a good community. There's nowhere you could go wrong with it.
How many people are on the team here? Your team, the Nerd Herd.
We have about 9 members, according to our current counts, and I think that means 4 mentors because we have 13 people overall. That's not ideal. We have a very small team. Normal teams average about 30 members alone, and as many mentors as the sun can see.
So you're wide open for people to come and check you
Always.
Absolutely.
out. And maybe find some new friends and find a place to get excited about meeting and learning and going to worldwide competition.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else do you want to add? What have I left out? There's so much that you've done for the last few years that maybe something that surprised you. What surprised you about this whole thing, this whole process? Anybody want to take that one?
Sure. So, I think what surprised me is just the ability for us to work together so well this past year. It was really surprising to see this sort of ragtag team of kids from all over Yamhill County, because we've got, like, I live in Dundee, Ian here lives in Mac, Nick lives in Sheridan. We've got kids all the way from Newburgh that come out here. And so, if that's something you're worried about, there's carpool opportunities. Yeah, so the surprising bit was we've got this ragtag group of kids who came together.
It's kind of random. They would never know each other otherwise.
Right.
And maybe very little in common.
Yeah, except we all love learning and we wanted to do something with a purpose. And so we came together and we made a robot that was robust. And I think that's the most surprising bit, is that how important it is to have a robust robot and a robust team at that, where through thick and thin, our robot sticks together and we stick together. I think we undervalued that in the past, and I don't think we ever will again.
Well, that's beautiful. Anybody else have anything to add? Coach, Brian, Matt, we forget anything?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We got some coaching from the side.
So we want to say a big thank you to Linfield. We actually, so for the past 2 years before this build season, we were building out of our coach's basement. Very graciously let us use some of her tools in that space. And now we're building out of Linfield's basement. So their applied physics department has given us some room and allowed us to build there, and we're super grateful for that.
That is great. Well, maybe I see the back of your T-shirt because your sponsors are listed here. Why don't we give them some airtime right now? Elemental, Evergreen Aviation Space and Museum, Oregon Department of Education, Yamhill County. You went to the commissioners and asked for a grant. AKE, Encore Home Furnishings, First Tech Credit Union, Mentor Graphics, Oregon International Air Show. So thank you to all of those people who did that sponsoring. Feels good, doesn't it, when you get that kind of support?
Yeah. And one last thing.
Sure.
Actually, this weekend, we will be down in Salem at the State Fair. We'll have us and a couple other teams will have a show that goes on where you can learn more about robotics. Or other ways to reach out would be Facebook, on our website, or in contact at nerdherd4043.org.
Nerdherd43, 4043.org. Nerdherd4043.org. All right, perfect. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.